What is the mood like in Minneapolis right now after the shooting death of George Floyd?
Well, I think it's a bunch of emotions. It's sadness, it's anger, it's just confusion, frustration, all in one. It's really a lot of emotions going on right now. It's you have people who's there to help other people who are there in need for those who they see that's sad. So definitely a lot of people helping out, and obviously you have people who express their frustrations in other ways. So there's not really one emotion, honestly. There's so many different emotions going on in Minneapolis right now.
So, how do you feel personally about the death of George Floyd? And what do you think is going to happen next in the process?
I'm very upset because I'm an African American male, and that could have easily been me. This is something that all this frustration that's going on is not because of just what happened with George Floyd. It's an accumulation of all the other innocent Black males and women that have been killed by police and they weren't even armed in any way, shape, or form. So I personally am very upset about it. We need to change. This can't keep happening again. Like it's crazy that this is still happening in 2020 because when you look at the pictures on social media, it looks like something back in the 60s. So it just goes to show how far we still have a long ways to go for equal rights.
So, it was announced today that the officer that was kneeled on his neck has been arrested. So, what do you think about that announcement?
Well, I'm happy. It's a first step. I'm happy that he is arrested. In my opinion, I do think the other three officers that were there should be arrested too. But I am happy that first step was at least taken. Now I would obviously like to see it play out in court. I do feel he should be tried on trial for murder, first degree murder, in my opinion. So we still have a ways to go with this for this to play out, but I am happy that at least the very first step with him being arrested was taken, and hopefully the other three officers will have some charges on them, in my opinion, as well.
So, what do you think about the response from the courts? Do you think it is enough, or does more need to be done?
Oh, I definitely think more needs to be done. I think our court system is very behind as far as being proactive, especially for the African American community. I even heard the Hennepin County attorney yesterday say that they need more evidence to, to convict this guy. And I'm like, the whole thing was caught on video. I don't understand how much more evidence you need. So it always seems like, as far as the court system, that, in my opinion, we're always taking one step forward and two steps back, for African Americans when we're innocently killed. So I do think the court system is lagging. I'm disappointed as a whole in our court system in this country. It seems like majority of the time when innocent Black men and women are killed in the hands of police officers, the police officers get off. They just get like a pat on the back, like nothing severe ever happens. So that needs to change, and I'm just praying that this trial that's coming up is the start of that change.
So, people are angry, and very understandably. What have you seen during these protests?
Yeah, so me and my friend Tyrone, we went out there yesterday because I live in Minneapolis. I live probably about 10 minutes from where all this was happening, and basically sort of what I was saying earlier before. There's so many different mixed emotions. You have the people who are like, all wild up and like ready to go, ready for war. As you can see, what happened last night when the police station got taken over. Like I've never seen that in my lifetime before. Then you have the other types who get in the circle and hold hands and say prayer together, and all. I think everybody has the right to react how they want to react. I don't think that there's a right or a wrong way to react. But yeah, just going off what I said, my first answer, it's a lot of different emotions right now. It's going to take a long time, I think, for this city to heal. It's not going to be an overnight process, but I just don't want all this to go, unheard. And I definitely think that the courts and the police they're seeing that, you know, we're reacting this way for a reason. It's because a lot of times we don't feel heard, and we don't feel heard because, you know, a lot of times these police officers, when they kill us, they get off like nothing ever happened. So yeah, it's just a lot of emotions going on in Minneapolis right now, the Twin Cities area.
So do you believe that a lot of negative actions have taken place? Maybe some people who aren't directly related to the cause. Some people have set fires to buildings, have looted. Do you believe that accurately represents the cause that you are fighting for?
Well, I, here's the thing. I personally do not believe in looting. Like I personally don't do that, but I understand where it's coming from. You know, it's built up frustration from, you know, 400 years of slavery and then through segregation, and it's just all this built up anger, you know, that's coming out and was spilling over. So, you know, there's always a backstory and a reasoning behind something. And like I said, I don't personally, I would never personally loot. That's not my thing. But the people who does do those things and set cars on fire, I think it's just because they want to be heard. You know, if when your back is against the wall, you know, sometimes you have to do things out of the ordinary just to be heard. And I think that the first step for any change is just simply being heard. And a lot of times, you know, if you feel like, if a community feels like, yo, I'm going through a problem, I'm going through an issue, but you feel like the other communities, they either don't see it or they see it, but they just turn a blind eye to it. You're like, okay, you know what? The peaceful way is not working no more. You know, now I got to do something different just to get your attention so we can meet at the table to eventually talk about change.
So what concerns do you have being a Black man in America, let alone in Minneapolis?
Well, definitely a lot of concerns. You know, it's sad that I even have to think about, you know, when I'm driving in the car by myself, that if I see a police officer behind me, you know, I have to really think about slowing down, you know, not doing anything to cause unnecessary attention to myself. You know, if I have my music up a little bit loud and I see a police officer around my way, I know to turn it down just slightly a little bit, just to not draw that unnecessary attention to myself. And it's sad that that even has to be a thought in my mind in America in the year 2020. Um, so I mean, until I start seeing things change where, you know, innocent Black men and women are not being killed anymore by the police officer, and they're not armed with a gun, a knife, anything, I think I'm always gonna have a concern about that until I start seeing progress happen and change happen.
So if you could speak to the officer at the center of this case, what would you say to him?
I just want to. I would just ask him like why, like why did you have your, why were you on his neck for so long? Like why, when it's four of you guys and it was only one of him and he was in handcuffs and unarmed, like what were you thinking? The guy is telling you he can't breathe. The guy is telling you he's in pain. You're a police officer. You're supposed to help the community, not hurt. You're supposed to de-escalate situations, not escalate situations. So I just want to ask him why. Like, was it pure hatred? Like, do you hate Black people? Like, why? It was such an unnecessary death because he was not a threat to that police officer at all. So I would purely just ask him why. It was like the most unavoidable death ever, and it should have never happened.
What lessons do you believe could be learned from this incident?
Well, I think I'm not a police officer, so I don't know what the training is, but I think police officers definitely need to be retrained on how to de-escalate a situation, because a lot of videos you see on social media, when the police are called, instead of the situation being de-escalated, they're being escalated even more once the police are involved. In a perfect world, the police, they're our friends, but you know, of course, this is not a perfect world. And I know not every cop is a bad police officer, but I'm just speaking on behalf of the ones who do these bad things. I think police officers need retraining because something is not right if I call a police officer, it's not, something's not right if I know I have to double guess, should I call a police officer or not? Because I don't know if the situation is going to be handled the way it should be, based off of everything that I'm seeing that's been happening in the world for so long now. It just seems like there's a huge like boiling point in America right now, and it seems like it's us against them, you know. And in a perfect world, it shouldn't be like that, but unfortunately, that's just the reality of the situation that we're in. So I definitely think there needs to be some retraining with these police officers, because like enough is enough.
What is your outlook on racism in America?
It's sad because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. We all breathe the same air. We all put our pants on the same way, and we all bleed red. You know, it's sad that someone thinks, oh, because I'm a different skin color than you, that I'm better than you, or because you're a different skin color, you're darker than me or whatever, you're a threat. When I'm just me, I'm a human being just like you. You know, I'm not better or worse than you. We're all the same, especially in God's eyes. Like, God made us through his image, you know. So it's just sad that racism is even a thing in this world, because we all bleed the same color. We all bleed red. And I wish, obviously, racism wasn't a thing. But, you know, again, it's just unfortunately the reality of the times that we live in. And I just pray and hope that one day, you know, racism would not be a thing anymore, because it's just sad when you have to talk to little kids about racism, and little kids about, mommy, are the police officers good or bad? What's going on? You know, it's just sad that that happens, but it's the reality of the situation.
What do you believe can be done from stopping incidents like this from happening ever again?
Well, I mean, first of all, if anyone is unarmed, they're not a threat to you. So you should never lose your life if you're unarmed. That should be the issue. Secondly, I think police officers needs to be held accountable. They should know that, hey, if you ever kill someone who is unarmed and your life was never in danger, I think that should be an immediate, in my opinion, I think that should be an immediate, you're in jail for life, because you took an innocent life and that wasn't a threat to you at all. So, and I think because police officers have no fear of consequences, because just based off of history, they know that majority of times they're just going to get a slap on the wrist. I think until police officers know that there is a real consequence of if you kill someone who is innocent and not a threat, I don't think that's ever going to change. So until something happens to where, like, yo, a police officer killed an innocent black man, an innocent black woman, and they went to jail for life, like, until like real harsh punishments start happening, I just fear that nothing is really going to change, because they know, just based off of history, that they're just going to get hit with a slap on the wrist. So I think police officers, the punishment needs to be a lot more harsh than what has been in the past. A lot of times they just walk away free.
And finally, do you believe your community has grown closer because of this?
Oh, absolutely. Just based off of what I was seeing when I went to the protest yesterday, you could definitely feel that the community was like, "Hey guys, we're in this together." It sucks that we even have to be here for a situation like this, but I definitely feel that as a whole, in general, this definitely makes the community stronger. I personally have got messages from people of all types of skin colors. I got messages from Black people, white people, you know, Asians. Everybody has been messaging me and saying, hey, like, how can I help? This is messed up. I think people are finally starting to realize that, yo, this police brutality, police killings of innocent people, like, it's a problem. And like, I sort of can definitely start to feel that shift of people uniting, even people outside of the African American community coming together, just off of the feedback that I've gotten the past 2 days. So I definitely think this is bringing people close together. I mean, I know the images on the news, it looks like it's fire and bad and whatever, but I think this does bring people together. I definitely.
Jamaal, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Jaden.